Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Liael Amorta deck profile for post-Omniscient Awakening. This is the Faded One of Time, used in the Cardfight Vanguard Divines series by the character Future Hikari. It's a really fun deck that focuses on being able to ride into a new Liael Amorta with the Divine skill, getting the drive -1 at the end of the battle that your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, and that this unit attacked, basically redoing time again for this unit to attack. With the new support we got from set 5 Omniscient Awakening, it definitely does help because the deck was kind of lacking with the set 2 support, so we had to rely on a good majority of generic to run in the deck altogether. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, we have the standard energy generator with our starter being player of the Oliphant, Belnista. When rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is player of the lovely harp, Adorphus. When rode upon by a player of the beautiful chord, Elegenia. Soul Blast 1, draw 2 cards, choose up to 1 normal unit from your hand, discard it. If you did not discard a normal unit, choose 2 cards from your hand and discard them. So it just helps to sift through some of the cards in our deck using the grade 1 ride, with our grade 2 being player of the beautiful chord, Elegenia. When rode upon by a grade 3 with Liael and its card name, choose any number of normal units from your drop, put them on the bottom of the deck in any order. If you chose 3 or more, draw a card. So just being able to get through those cards, like with the grade 1, you can then use Elegenia for a put-back option to draw into some cards and also recycle some of the cards we may not have wanted to have in the drop zone to then use with our Vanguard, which is the Faded One of Time, Liael Amorta. Now, along with the copies that we are running, we want full Persona Ride power in the deck as well. So I do ideally want to run 3 copies of this card as well. I have the 3rd copy coming in the mail. So I have a Divine Sister, Bugna, as just a placeholder for the additional copies of this card. When this unit attacks, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your rear guards, bind it, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same name as that card, call it to rear guard, and shuffle the deck. So added power for being able to set up more units to be able to attack, just for the cost of a counterblast. And then also, when this unit's put on the guard circle, discard a card from your hand. Put 2 cards from the bind zone on the bottom of the deck in any order. Choose one of your units with Faded 1 in its card name, and that unit cannot be hit until the end of that battle, acting more as a defensive option for the card. But the main play comes down to this card's Divine skill. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, choose a card with the same card name as this unit from your drop, and you may ride it as stand. If you rode, that unit gets drive -1 until end of turn. So just added power for this card's Divine skill, and also with the setup for you to be able to use Liael Amorta for the added Persona Ride power. Being able to ride it as stand gives you the option for the Persona Ride, and then also with that setup as being able to discard a card from your hand and put 2 cards from your bind zone on the bottom of the deck in any order, choosing one of your units with Faded 1 in its card name, and that you cannot be hit. So you could put this card on the guard circle, adding back the cards that you put into the bind zone with this card to then give you a Sentinel option with this card in your hand, and then also the option during the following turn to ride it for the Persona Ride. And then for the grade 2s, we run 4 copies of the new Sequence Wizard. With this card, when it's placed on rear guard during your main phase, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Liael and its card name, counterblast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or less unit from among them, call it to rear guard, and shuffle the deck. More setup for your field and all your rear guard circles. And on rear guard, when your other unit is bound by your Vanguard's ability, this unit gets +5 to end of turn, and you may soul charge 1, giving you more of a soul boosted power, the +5k for it to be able to attack and hit the normal 13k power as well, with our other grade 2 being the 4 copies of Sword Saint of Itinerant, Idaras. On rear guard during your turn, if your bind zone has a card with the same name as this unit, it gets +10,000 power. And when this unit's bound on rear guard during your turn, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Liael in its card name, Soul Blast 1, draw a card, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets +5 until end of turn, giving your Vanguard additional power. On top of this card being able to provide a 20k boost just by meeting the criteria for Liael Liael Amorta, being able to call out this card as well, since you will use the Counterblast and search a card for the same name with Liael Amorta to be able to call to rearguard to use for this ability. And then the last of the grade 2s, ideally I do want to run 4 copies of the other new grade 2, Knight of Piercing Skies, Pernastra. On rearguard during your turn, if your bind zone has a card with the same card name as this, it gets +5 power. And when your grade 3 or grade Vanguard with Liael and its card name is placed, Energy Blast 3, bind this unit and draw a card. It's a card that makes use of the Energy Blast ability in this deck and also setting up more cards for the bind option of this card. So if this unit already attacked, you can have this card be the potential bind for a draw just off of the Energy Blast 3. For the grade 1s, we run 4 copies of Gragon. It's in here, very, very important just for the countercharge power, just for the fact that we counterblast heavily with our Liael Amorta's skill, and then also for our Sequence Wizard, which is the new grade 2 we run. So we can easily go through our counterblast quite easily. Gragon, with the ability of our Vanguard being able to call units guaranteed per turn, we can have this card easily get the +5 power to retire and countercharge option. And then also the 4 copies of Magic of Stimulants, Euphoria. On rearguard during the battle, this unit boosted. If you have a grade 3 or grade Vanguard with Liael and its card name, it gets +5,000 power. And when this unit boosts a grade 3 or grade Vanguard with Liael and its card name, it gets +2 till end of battle. Soul Blast 1, choose up to 1 card with the same card name as any of your units from your drop, put them on the bottom of the deck, and choose one of your units, and it gets +5 until end of turn. So this is also used for recycle power to be sure you always have units to be able to call off the Counterblast 1 bind ability of your Vanguard Liael Amorta. And also the 4 copies of Sergon. It's just a very, very good card in the deck for the search and setup of units, from just being able to retire this unit and having, just needing more rear guards than your opponent to be able to use Sergon. With the other grade 1s being 3 copies of Swordsman of Twin Stance, East Tier. From the back row rearguard, when your rearguard in the same column as this unit is bound by the ability of your grade 3 or grade Vanguard with Liael and its card name, you can stand this unit. So what I like about this is you can provide the full boost to the rearguard that has attacked into your opponent. And then when it's bound and you call out a new rearguard, you then have the option to restand this card to provide the same boosted power to that rearguard that was just called off of this ability also. And then for the rest of the grade 1s, just the Sentinel lineup, the Elementaria Sanctitude, and the 3 copies of Bringer of Protection Sithlan. For the trigger lineup, we're going with the 8 critical. Honestly, it could be 7. You have immense pressure with your Vanguard's persona riding ability, but still, 8 critical can just hit pretty hard with your Vanguard's pressure as well, with the next spot being the 3 copies of the draw, just because you could make use of the bind ability for your grade 2, which is the Knight of Piercing Skies, when your grade 3 grade Vanguard with Liael, its card name is placed. So with this card, when you use the Divine skill, you could be missing out on that other front row unit to fully utilize a front trigger. And then also the 4 heals, just very fitting. Same trigger lineup for Raziel, just for the fact of the aesthetic as well. And our over trigger being the Valnut for additional rearguard power attacks. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I do want to make the Liael Dark States deck as well. Just have to gather more cards for it until I do so. But until then, please, as always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.